Matt Heron. Hello, good sir. How are you?
I'm good, Stu. How are you? Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, dude. Well, we've been friends for a while now here in Colorado, and you've kindly obliged and joined all the different stuff and things that I've started and David and I have started, and yeah, we got what was it, Storehouse Mastermind, Kinetic Man, Military Investor Network. You've been a part of it all, so I appreciate you just continuing to come along on the journey.
100%. I'm here for whatever cool clubs you're starting because I don't have the balls to start my own, and yours are fun and and
Well,
and I love a ton for sure.
I appreciate it, man. Well, let's just get back into it. You've been obviously a military veteran, but you've been in business for a long time. You and your bride have been investing primarily in real estate in a long time for a long time. So you have a wide range and background of just business and investment in general. And I've learned a ton from you, and I know you being a part in the community, and you've offered some advice, and you're always talking about like owning businesses, buying businesses. You're wanting to look and help and provide others with some knowledge base on that. So, if you could just give a little bit of background, just brief history background about who you are and what you did in the military.
Yeah, I went to that other little tiny academy called the Coast Guard Academy.
I
Spent
didn't even know
spent
there was one until we met.
Yeah, that's funny. Too busy like cracking jokes about puddle pirates and 6 feet tall and all the other ones that I actually kind of enjoy them. They're fun. Yeah, spent 8 years. Grew up in Pennsylvania. Went to the Coast Guard. Did 8 years active duty. A couple years on a ship, and then uh, I guess 5 years doing like shore engineering work. So my background's in civil structural engineering, and I was fortunate to I didn't get some really sort of practical transferable skills in uniform that actually helped my transition pretty smoothly. So yeah, I spent time in California, I spent time in South Florida, kind of the hot spots of Coast Guard stuff. And we, in deciding where to live, decided that Colorado was awesome. We were still big skiers and snowboarders. And so that was maybe silly, but kind of a huge part of our decision. Like, yeah, we should go somewhere with awesome mountains. So yeah, we've been
Yeah,
here. I moved here in 2008. So we've been start left the military journey in 2008.
there's not a lot of like Coast Guard around Colorado, is there?
Every once in a while, I see like the Coast Guard license plate, and I'm like, what are you doing here?"
A lot of
Yeah,
people ask me about Navy too, like why are you in Colorado? There's no Navy in Colorado.
right, right.
Um, well, so speaking of transition, like, you mentioned you had a little bit of, in the military, some career experience that helped you transition into what you started out in. What was that like? How was the transition?
I was as I reflected on this when you shared some of the questions, like it was on one hand it was pretty smooth, and on one hand it was terrifying.
Mm,
So like to dive into that a little bit and unpack it. So when I knew that I wanted to be, I'm kind of an accidental entrepreneur. I didn't like intend to do that, but I
yeah,
knew that I really wanted to join a small organization, mostly because I really didn't like being in a really big organization. And the Coast Guard's not big. Like it's tiny
yeah,
and pretty agile, and like the bias for action is real. Like the bureaucracy relative to the DoD is like pretty manageable. I needed something really small. So I probably started networking pre-LinkedIn a good year or so before my transition time. But it was tricky because I really wanted to join a small business in Colorado, ideally doing something that I could add some value to. So it took a while to like I actually ended up flying myself out here several times, pretending that I was like visiting family, which I was, but uh, I was flying to self-made interviews that other people didn't think was an interview because I just really wanted to be here, and I knew kind of what I wanted. And nobody's gonna fly you around when their business is, 25, 50, 100 people.
right.
So that part actually went pretty well. The terrifying part was, we're literally packed up driving across the country here to here from Florida via like New England visiting family. And like Lehman Brothers is failing and Bear Stearns is failing. I'm hearing all these things. We're literally like driving. And I have like a 1 year old and my wife is 8 months pregnant. I'm like,
Nice.
I hope there's a job at this little company that I'm joining when I get to Colorado. That was terrifying.
Yeah, that was an interesting time to be getting out of the military.
For sure, for sure. It was like, what am I thinking? Maybe I should, maybe I should flip a UE and go back and say, hey, maybe I should stick this out for a little bit longer.
Well, and
But it worked out.
that's scary leaving, essentially a guaranteed paycheck,
Right?
the 15th and the 30th of every month and going into something you don't really know what to expect. What
I mean,
was
it's coming for all of us, right? So you might as well do it when you think
Yeah,
your timing is right.
for sure. So what was that business? What was that career move?
So it was actually an engineering business. So maybe a little bit of the backstory is sort of uniquely, I was down in Miami doing this like shore facility building stuff. And at that time, so we were basically like an architecture engineering firm with 50 people. But it was handful of folks in uniform and then lots of civil servant engineers, architects, construction professionals. And we worked from the Carolinas over to like through Texas. And it
Okay.
just so happened at the time that I was there, there was a ton of hurricanes, like everywhere, Texas and Florida, and Katrina hit. I spent a lot of time in Mississippi for Katrina. I did a lot of work like after hurricanes, and it was fascinating. And it turns out there's like a whole industry of damage assessment and just engineering work around natural disasters. And it just really, it sort of spoke to me. So that's
Okay.
what I wanted to find. That's what I found, or so I thought I found when I joined this company in Colorado. Within a year of showing up, the company had a couple partners. The company split in half, and on the surface of it, it was, hey, we actually started to do some business line work that was competing with each other, which didn't really work. And the backstory was that the partners weren't really getting along very well. And so the company split in half. So this is now also terrifying as I'm now a father of two in my brand new job. And I didn't end up doing that kind of work very much because at that point, everybody that's in the military knows. I mean, there was a huge, I mean, there was a surge and buildup, and the infrastructure part of the federal spending was very real. And so we kind of recognized an opportunity to get into the federal space, which we weren't in before. And I spoke government contracting. I understood that world, I understood, federal acquisition rules. And so off we went to build kind of a federal practice. And that's what we did.
Okay. Well, fast forward, you ended up kind of becoming like a owner slash partner, right?
Yeah, like I bought into the company after 7 years. So I was an employee for a period of time. And also like kind of at the time of this split, this company split, me and two other guys that were similar age who sort of went the way with the one of the founders who, had a few years on us. I think we all sort of knew that we wanted to be business owners. And so we sort of started that conversation at the time of the split or shortly thereafter, and really just phased our way into buying into the company. So yeah, bought into the company. We ran it and grew it for another, I guess, 6 or 7 years, and then actually like right before COVID, we sold the business.
Okay. So you kind of gone full cycle, the experience of a full cycle, like getting into a business, buying into it, becoming an owner, running it, and then selling it. I know there's a lot of talk in our world, in the entrepreneur world of doing just that, right? Buying small businesses, getting in, making it more efficient, operating it, and then eventually selling it. So like you've done that and have experience in that, which is
Yeah,
pretty cool.
there's a whole world that I didn't even know existed until I left the world, and yeah, come to find out, entrepreneurship through acquisition is like a thing, and they teach it in MBA programs now, and there's, search funds for people that want to go buy a business, and the search part is like finding one to buy. So I'm plugged into that world really from a how can I add value? How can I be of service somehow in it? And I frankly, I don't exactly know what that looks like yet. There's
Yeah,
probably an investor role there. There's probably some, advisory role there. Somehow I haven't quite figured that out, but it's a unique path. And I will say that for a long time, I considered my friends that started businesses from scratch like real entrepreneurs. And they really are, because I think that's terrifying. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
Compared to what I do believe and truly is, it's entrepreneurship. You're running an own business, but you
Yeah.
happen to have found one that's already running, and hopefully it's running and it's profitable, and you have some ideas on how to continue to grow it, and grow it with profitability, with some
Yeah.
end game in mind, which is that might be hold it for 5 or 6 years and sell it to the next person. It might keep it forever because you love it forever. There's a lot of different ways you can do it.
What I'm just curious, like, this transition from military life to, jumping into a business to eventually owning the business and selling the business. What skills did you like learn from the military side that you think were that transferred well to, running that business cycle?
I do think we have, I don't think we recognize it when we're in uniform, but I think that the military is just set up for prioritizing and executing. Like
Mm,
we're pretty good at that. And I, I I suspect that's, anything from like combat where it's very real to, even, sort of the back of the bus where there's a lot of work that has to happen. The vast majority of us did not spend time like on the front line, and we still have a mission. So this mission focus and kind of cutting through the baloney to like prioritize what needs to get done and execute on it. It's I didn't recognize that that was like a valuable skill until I got into a situation where like people were not doing that. Like,
mm.
what are we doing? Yeah, I mean, there's an operational part of it that I think most of us are pretty good at.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's my wife, talks about kind of like the kind of the corporate world so much, and how she's, like she's been in it for a while, and she jokes a lot about like how much wasted time there is, right? And like
Hmm.
just meetings and kind of, wasted space in the, in the organization. And I see some of that now, but still kind of in this entrepreneur world where, yeah, you can just get after it. Like military
Yep.
guys and gals just like go and get after it, and very task oriented checklist. Like let's work hard and get this stuff done. That's good.
You know what another one is that I don't know that I really appreciated was until I had my first conversation with I mean, I think it was probably a manager, not a business owner, but with a kind of a good HR professional. Like we're pretty good at conflict resolution in the military,
Mm,
and you might not think about that much. You're always leading and following, right? You're always a leader of somebody and a follower of somebody, and there's no HR department. Like, there's nowhere to air your. Yeah, you can go, talk to the senior chief or the master chief or whatever the army version of that is. Like, there's sort of that, but
yeah,
you got to figure it out. And yes, I guess technically you can sort of fire people in the military, but not really. Like you have a team that you didn't necessarily choose, and that's your team. And you've got to find a way to make it the most high performing team you can because you don't
yeah.
really have any other options. I think that's a real unique skill too. I mean, we could talk about, sort of slow to hire, quick to fire. Like these are real things in the private sector. But I also sort of disagree with myself sometimes when I hear myself say that because people intend well, and I think we have unique experience to get the best out of people because
Mm,
in times we have to.
yeah, that's good, man. I love that. Yeah, I mean, we often get put in charge of people and things that we know nothing about, but you still gotta figure out how to lead them and get the job
Right.
done. That's good, man. I know you and your bride are heavily involved just in the investment space in general too. You guys invest in real estate, own real estate, and I've been in that for a while. But Military Investor Network is not just about real estate; it's about just investing in general. And there's lots of discussions and topics and themes and ways that we can invest. So I'm just curious, like from a grand, perspective, what would you could say your best investment is that you've ever made?
So I would say financially, it was buying a business.
Okay.
I mean, it was terrifying, like mortgage my house, cut a six-figure check, and but the outcome there, if you were to, play the IRR game or the ROI game or cash on cash was a remarkable investment. Now there's years of blood, sweat, and tears. So
Yeah.
it was whatever the opposite of a passive investment was, it was that. It was the most active of active investments. But yeah, it's one that I talk about and share because it's a real opportunity for people if you're at the right stage of your career that
Yeah.
it's not a passive investment, but it can be really rewarding.
Well, let's kind of dive into it just a little bit, just quickly. Like from the financial side of buying a business, I think unless you have lots and lots of capital at the ready, like how does one go about buying a business?
Yeah, there's like so much in like Instagram land, and some of it is pretty cringy, well, this is not my path, but I will tell you, there's a whole earn in path. So that's what I did. So
Okay.
I earned my way in via cutting a check and with the owner of the business recapitalizing the business. So he took a note out,
Okay.
and then I worked my ass off. So this is real. I think there's only really certain pieces of businesses that operate that way. Professional services being one of them, accounting, legal, finance, engineering, architecture. Like that's sort of a is maybe a niche to that. What you see a lot in Instagram land, and it's real, is businesses that are under $5 million in enterprise value. Like you can go to the SBA and you can get up to an 80%, sometimes 90% note that's personally guaranteed by the buyer. So this is like super real. Like you are
Mm,
personally guaranteeing that loan with your own assets, but it's ultimately leaning on the assets of the business and the balance sheet and the P&L of the business to buy the business. So you lever your business 80%, figure out a way to have the business be profitable and cash flow enough to pay off that note over 10 years, or if you accelerate it. A lot of times people ask the seller to carry a note, carry a loan back. In real estate land, it's the same idea.
yeah.
10% is pretty common. It can go north of that. So that basically they're not necessarily financially tied to the business because they're on the cap stack. And then you come up with 10% equity, and that might be your own, that might be friends and family. There's whole investor networks out there that probably have some terms that are a little more sort of investor friendly than straight entrepreneur friendly. But at the end, if you look for outside equity for your business to the tune of 10 to 20% of your business in 10 years, or if you accelerate it, you own 80% of the business. And you
Yeah.
always own a controlling component of the business, even if the bank, carries the note for it. So you're still in control. You're still the boss. So
Mm.
I mean, those are very broad
Yeah, I know we
strokes.
could go
That's how a
pretty
lot of
far
people do
deeper.
it.
Would you say that there's quite a bit of opportunity right now to buy small businesses?
Yeah, there's a couple pieces there. So we hear about the silver tsunami a lot in small business land, which is baby boomers they're frankly not really ready to sell their business, and
Mm.
I mean, these are our parents, right? They're in their 70s or older. So there's depending on which number you use, I mean, there are billions of dollars of the asset value of a business that are something's going to happen to them in the next 5 to 10 years. And interestingly, right behind that is Gen X is kind of right there too. And Gen X is actually a little better prepared to sell their business. They're just thinking about it differently. Maybe in a healthy way, it's not like so much their identity. They
Yeah.
just recognize that it's an asset but it's a single asset. And so if you're in a place where you're trying to diversify your assets, yeah, there's a lot of capital out there. There's a lot of private equity capital, which is a little scary. There's whole worlds of sort of small business people that want people to be small business people because they value what it's done in their life. I put myself in that camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of opportunity. There's a lot of people chasing the opportunities that are out there. So it's not, I think Instagram and that world does maybe a poor job of it's almost like, oh, you just walk over to the tree and pick which apple you like and start
Yeah.
start chewing on it. And oh, by
Go
the way,
find
you
the mom
just
and pop business and just go buy it. Easy.
yeah, yeah, they're everywhere. And then you just hire a manager and you pay him 80 grand a year and you go move to Florida. Like that don't happen.
Not the case.
Yeah, that wouldn't get clicks on Instagram, but I wouldn't click on that ad that you get on Instagram because it's baloney.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's
But it's
very
out
cool.
there. If you look for it and you want it, it's out there.
Okay. Well, what on the other side, worst investment that you've ever made?
Worst investment. You know, I'm very forthright about the, my wife is a real estate investor and I
Yeah.
and I help where I can. So I mean, that's how we obviously got to meet each other, Stu,
Yeah.
and she's extremely good at it. So I'm grateful. And she was always kind of our chief investment officer from the beginning. She's passionate about it. She's good at it. She teaches our kids about it. So it's a blessing for me. So I'm gonna like my answer is gonna be a little tongue in cheek. Every time I either like come into some money or get a bonus or just decide it's a good idea, I go buy like a really old crappy Land Cruiser and I think it's super fun for a couple of years and then I don't want it anymore and it's not worth what I paid for it and
That's fun.
it turns out to be a very bad investment. Not that it was ever an investment. It was an investment in fun, but it turns out that's not an appreciating asset, believe it or
Yeah,
not.
I've never heard of many people that have done well like buying vehicles and selling them for a profit. I had a grand idea too when I lived over in Italy. I thought it would be cool to buy an old Land Rover Defender from the UK, like the steering wheel on the right hand side.
Yes.
It was a disaster, dude. Like I thought I was gonna make this like great purchase and bring it back to the States and have it all fixed up and sell it for like double, triple what it was. That didn't work out that way.
Little bit of maintenance involved in Land Rovers, as I understand.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, cool, dude. Well, um, looking back, what what would you give yourself advice on, 20-year-old, 30-year-old, your kids? Like, what are you giving your kids advice on right now, from all the lessons learned that you've been a part of in this business world, entrepreneur world?
Yeah, slow down a little bit.
Mm,
It's okay to not know what you want to do or think you want to do when you're 20, 18. I've got a daughter in college and the next one's, knocking the door of college. Like you don't have to know. You don't have to know what what your next thing is. Yeah, I would say those are biggies. I think just kind of reflecting on, as I've had the chance to do a lot of reflection the last couple of years, I, I think my 20-year-old self was like moving away from things that I didn't want to be a part of or running away from things. And I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self, like, run towards the thing you want or the thing you might think you want. And if it doesn't work, just, change directions a little bit. But yeah, I think a little bit of fear-based running away from things. It's like, no, it's okay to be afraid of something. It's okay to move away from something that's not for you, but spend your real energy like moving towards something that you love.
mm. That's good advice, man. Love that. All right, last question. Being a part of this community, and you've been a part of other communities too, like we talked about. What would you ask from the members of this community, Military Investor Network, people that are watching this? What do you need most right now, either in your business or what you're looking forward to next? What would you ask of the members that are watching this?
Yeah, I tell you, one of my favorite, I love talking to business owners, small business owners. I just
Yeah.
love it. And maybe an equal love of that is what people are doing when they take the uniform off. I mean, I know
Mm,
people that are like started bakeries or started yoga shops or started real estate companies or like it's fascinating to me that we all, sort of look the same and we all had to, get indoctrinated into whatever the thing was. And then you take the uniform off, whatever that is, and what the creativity of what people are passionate about and what they pursue is just cool. So what would I ask? Like, give me a call. Like, if there's something interesting that you've heard in this conversation that might be worth exploring, like I love to just talk about it with like zero uh, outcome intended. Just yeah, I'd love to hear what people have done taking the uniform off because it's cool.
that's cool, man. I love it, and I will give a plug because just being in the room with you. I mean, we do like a little men's get together coffee every month as just a part of like a fall over from the Kinetic Man days, and just hearing you talk about business with somebody else, just being a fly on the wall and like just hearing your experiences and your stories and your ideas is fascinating. I've learned a ton from you. So guys and gals, if you know, being in business, buying businesses, entrepreneurship, taking a business from ground up and selling it is interesting to you, then Matt absolutely is your man. So this is good, dude. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Sue. Thanks so much for allowing
We
me to be
uh
part of all your
we
networks.
need to hit the mountain. We need to be hitting the mountain soon.
Yes, we do. That's the most,
Okay.
that's what I would tell
All
my
right.
20-year-old self. Go skiing more.
Go ski more.
All
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
right. Thanks, Sue. Take care.
Bye.